Trials Rising has a reputation for being one of the hardest platinums out there, so I just had to see what it's all about. And while some of the early tracks might seem like a nice bike through the park, I eventually found the difficulty when I hit obstacles like this. Ooh, so close. Now at first glance, this might look like a racing game, but once you get into it, its true nature reveals itself, and it turns out it's a super precise platform. You see, this game is all about controlling your momentum by leaning backwards and forwards on your bike, and gaining a true mastery of this physics system is going to be absolutely necessary to get the gold medal on all of these tracks. This is our big picture goal because of this trophy, Golden Hero. We'll have to slowly collect gold medals as we make our way through the different leagues of the game until we finally reach the Race League. This is the hardest league in the game, containing 8 extreme tracks. But before we could even think about starting those, I had to first get good. And luckily there's a few early trophies that can help us learn our balance. As we were biking through Yellowstone, we came across this geyser. This is the perfect place to pull off 7 spins in the air to get this trophy. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. Ooh. But with enough patience and a little bit of luck, we're eventually able to land this one perfectly. I'll be honest, that trophy was a lot of luck, but eventually we get to a track where we can really test our precision. This track, set in Kuwait, ends in a long runway. You're supposed to jump into this plane to end the level, but instead we're going to use this runway to try to get this trophy. I needed to pull off a wheelie for 100 meters, and I failed this a couple of times. But with each failed attempt, I grew more comfortable with the bike and got a better sense of how much gas I needed to give it. Hey, unicycle. Okay, that wasn't that bad. Getting this trophy showed me that my skills were improving and I was on my way towards becoming a Trials Master. And it's a good thing that my skills were improving because these tracks were starting to heat up. As I continued my quest to collect gold medals, Trials took me across the globe. We did some loops in New York and LA, we soared among the balloons in Asia and explored some islands in the South Pacific, and we even found ourselves flying through rings of fire on an aircraft carrier. We actually stumbled across another trophy here. There's a secret alternate exit to this course that you can only get to by flying through these rings. It took me almost a half hour to get comfortable with these rocket boosts, but eventually we land on this island and get our trophy. Ooh, got there, Ringmaster. Wow, like 30 seconds left, I think. But not long after that, I begin to bump up against the difficulty curve in this game. You see, we've reached some of the hard tracks, and I just don't have the skills that I need to get through some of this. This obstacle in particular is the one that made me realize I needed a little bit more help. So I decided I need to go back to school. Trials University. These courses teach you the basics that you need to know to get through the real tracks in the game. For example, this course teaches you how to bunny hop. It's a super important technique that we'll be using all the time. Basically, you sit back to put all of your weight on your rear wheel, and then you spring forward to let go of all that energy and do a little hop. All of these courses start out pretty easy, but by the end of them, they are ridiculous. You truly need to master the technique in order to get the A+ at the end. And you guessed it, in order to get this trophy, we needed to get an A+ in every single university track. These tracks were truly a blessing and a curse. It was really nice to have these tutorials in-game, but they were as hard as anything in the entire Platinum. One of these tracks asks you to do something so absurd that I don't think it shows up at all in the rest of the base game. This is the flat obstacles track, and the start of it is pretty reasonable. It teaches you how to get your bike up and over a flat surface. Basically, the key is that you want your back wheel to slam into the surface first. But by the end of the track, it wants you to pull off this maneuver. You need to go into an endo to raise your back wheel, then slam that back wheel down to put as much energy into those springs, and then use that energy to get a little hop to get your back wheel against the wall and go up and over. Trust me, it's as hard as it sounds, and I actually hit the time limit on this course. Once you hit 30 in-game minutes, it's back to the start. Yeah, that's it. Oh man, time's up. We got pretty far there, but not quite. But that's okay, we slowly improved, and eventually we made it back to the final obstacle. I'm not gonna lie, this was one of my proudest moments in the whole game. Get up, come on, land it, land it. Yes, go, go, go. Nice. Oh my god, so hard. Unfortunately, the gauntlet continues with some more really tough university tracks. I won't show them all, but this maneuver in particular was really critical to learn. This is a rear wheel bounce. You need to hit these platforms at the exact right angle to load up your rear wheel with a bunch of energy, and then spring forward for a huge jump. This comes up again and again in the extreme tracks later in the game, so it's super important that we learn it. And as always, getting an A+ in this track means that we have to get through a ridiculous obstacle. In this case, 3 back-to-back rear wheel bounces. This moment was another one that was several hours in the making. Oh my god, we got there. Wow. Luckily, the final university track actually isn't too bad. This one is called Time Trial, and it's all about getting up and over these humps without wasting too much time in the air. Our first time through, we get the trophy Graduation Day for getting at least a B in every university track, and then we spend a little bit more time perfecting our form to try to get an A+. The time to beat is 30.8 seconds, and here we have a good run going. No. Oh god. Go. Ooh. Nice, master's degree. Wow. Oh, that's a tough trophy. So with that, we go back to some of these hard courses. Again, we're seeking a gold medal in every course in the game for the Golden Hero Trophy. And I'm happy to say that our time at Trials University did indeed pay off. We're now able to get through some of these courses that were giving us a ton of trouble before. We were even able to pick up a few miscellaneous trophies. One of the trickiest ones was Unyielding. We need to complete a course without falling, without leaning at all. So we actually kind of have to unlearn some of the tricks that we learned at university and just rely on our momentum here. There are a few close calls, but with a little bit of patience, we eventually got there. Some of the other miscellaneous trophies were just plain fun. For this one, we need to bail out of our bike at the very edge of this jump and fly all the way through the air until we hit the finish line. It didn't take more than a few minutes to do, but it was definitely one of my favorite trophies in the entire set. Another funny one came on the Mount Everest course. If you back up at the starting line, you'll find a basketball that has a rocket attached to it. It turns out if you ride this rocket all the way to the top of the mountain, you'll find a basketball hoop, and when you dunk the ball in, you get a trophy. These miscellaneous trophies were all fun and games until we got to this one. 2 is better than 1. For this trophy, we need to beat the Hedge course using this special tandem bike. And this bike requires 2 controllers. It's super heavy, and you need both players to be accelerating to hit max speed. Now, I tried to do this on my own, stacking 2 controllers, but this horrible claw grip was never gonna work. Some people have been able to pull this off. The guide recommends having the rider on back always be leaning forward, and you can slowly make your way through these checkpoints. I gave it a shot and was making a little bit of progress, but checkpoints 4, 5, and 6 are a real gauntlet on your own. So I turned to my community for help. One of my viewers was also going for this platinum at the same time I was, so we jumped on SharePlay and tackled this trophy together. It was honestly pretty fun. We jumped in, and it definitely took us a little bit of time to get in sync with each other.
Yeah, that was fun.
Sorry, didn't communicate there. I was sending it, I should have said that. But over time, we started to make some progress. Although I will say that these 3 checkpoints were still really hard, even with 2 people. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Good stuff. Nice work. All right, here we go.
Back as much as we can.
Yep. All right, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, such a close one. That was our best shot yet. But finally, we made it through checkpoint 7, and the rest of the course isn't too bad. Nice, and just send it. Nice, wow.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the move.
Yeah, you're totally right. Okay, here we go.
Awesome. Okay, this one's free. Full send on this one, yeah?
Yep, full send on this one, and this is where we need to like do the bounce over the thing at the top of this, I think. Or no, not this one.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. This is the one where we do the bounce over the top of the thing.
Okay.
Ooh. Got it. Nice.
Well done, awesome.
Yep, good stuff.
All
Alright.
Go fumble you, yeah?
Yep. Okay, and very gentle. Good. Send. And same thing, very gentle. Let's get more speed here. All right, ready? Nice.
Yeah. Go full.
Good. On this very last checkpoint, you can have the rider in back bail out. It's actually a little bit easier to get up this final hill just solo. Hey, and that should be it. Hey, 2 is better than 1. Love it. Yep, we got it.
Awesome.
So with that diversion out of the way, it was time to get back to the real grind of getting gold on all of the tracks. It was finally time to jump into the extreme tracks. These are the hardest tracks in the entire game. I have to admit that I was pretty intimidated going into these. There are some absurd obstacles in every single one of these tracks, but honestly, it went a little bit better than I expected. That's in part thanks to this new bike that we're using, the Helium. This bike is super lightweight and has amazing traction. It really feels like you just stick to these surfaces and can float up these steep walls. So slowly but surely, checkpoint by checkpoint, we start crossing these tracks off of our list. Nice, that should be gold. Easy gold, wow. This track is one of the ones that gave me the most trouble, and it's because of the very last checkpoint. You have to land a rear wheel bounce, which isn't that hard in a vacuum, but when you have to do it under pressure, it can be super tough. Ah, there's golden nugget right there. Oh, all right. That ghost was the guy that we had to beat, so we had like 2 or 3 attempts at it. But eventually we have a run where we gave ourselves enough runway, and this happens. Go, go, go. Yes, that should be it. Oof. Wow. All right. An hour and 16 minutes of grinding that. Now at this point we only have one extreme track left, but I really want to save that for the last trophy, so we're off to a different challenge for now. Let's play some mini games. You see, these are the skill games, and unlike your typical track, all of these have a unique, different objective. And you guessed it, we have to get the gold medal on every single one. I guess the idea here is that you're proving that you have skills outside of your normal race, but a lot of these skills are pretty weird. I always wanted to prove that I have the skills to bounce my corpse over 300 feet by using explosive barrels. Or in this case, I always wondered how long I could hold on to a bucking bronco on a motorcycle. For this one, I basically just had to pray that I got lucky and wasn't thrown off. I felt like I had very little control here. As strange as these were, they were honestly a nice distraction from the extreme track grind, and many of them were really easy. But not all of them. It turns out that a few of these skill games are some of the hardest challenges that this Platinum has to offer. For example, take a look at this one, Loose Screw. This minigame is ridiculous. I cannot believe that this is in this game, it is so hard. The idea is that there are explosives on your front tire and it cannot touch the ground at any point. Okay, that's not exactly true. There are a couple of safe spots here that you can put your tire down, but for the most part, you just need to be pulling off a wheelie throughout this course. Pulling off an extended wheelie, even on a flat surface, is pretty tough, and so when they start to add obstacles and jumps and bumps throughout this course, it just becomes a total nightmare. Luckily, you do have one tool in your tool belt. This is probably the only place in the entire game where this bike, the donkey, comes in handy. When using the donkey, you're able to pull back all the way and ride on your back fender throughout most of the course. You still have to be a little bit careful on some of these drops, but for the most part, it makes a lot of the course pretty trivial. That is, until you get to this section. For this part of the course, you need to pull off a jump without landing on your front wheel. It doesn't look that hard, but let me tell you, I spent hours and hours working on this one jump. Every time I'd fail it, I'd have to do my 20-second run up back to this safe zone, and I wasn't even consistent in getting back up to here. There were a ton of heartbreaking close calls like this one. This is always the worst feeling in the world for all of these hard games, when you know that you're this close to finally being free, but because you screwed up, you're right back to where you were to begin with. Finally, I had a run where I landed this jump, and now all I have to do is slide down this hill to get a gold medal. I'm being super cautious here just to make sure I don't screw up, and you can see the anxiety leave my body as I see that gold medal pop. Unfortunately, we have one more really tough skill game in Hill Climb. This one is actually pretty similar to a normal course. Basically, you just want to get as far in the course as possible. The course climbs and climbs, and you get the gold medal when you hit 200 meters of vertical height. So even though this was a true test of my skill, I'm sorry to say that I really struggled with this one. There are some jumps where you have to be really precise, and just like with Loose Screw, if you fall, it's back to the start, and you need to do your 30-second run up again. Luckily for this one, we have a get out of jail free card. Let me explain. This game has two types of resources. You have these gears, which are really common, you get them all the time, but then you have these blue acorns. This is the premium currency in the game, and you can mostly get this from buying it for real money in the shop, but you can get just a little bit of it naturally by doing some side missions in the game, like finding all the collectibles and doing some contracts. Oh yeah, by the way, as a side note, every level has a collectible in it, and I've gotten a couple of trophies for finding all of these collectibles. Anyways, we've done enough of this by now to hoard 45 blue acorns, and that's the exact amount that we need to buy a new bike. This is the King Crab, and by buying this guy, I've made Hill Climb way easier. King Crab has a really low center of gravity, and so it makes climbing hills super easy. all of a sudden I flew through this challenge that I had been spending hours and hours on a regular bike. I feel a little bit bad about this. It kind of feels like I'm cheating on this course because I couldn't do it on a normal bike, but I figured I earned those acorns fair and square and I should be able to use them. It's not like I went the pay to win route. This is also relevant because there are another set of trophies that would have been made really easy by using my acorns, so I kind of decided to use my get out of jail free card on the skill trials rather than this other set of trophies. More on that in a second. One other nice benefit of the skill trials is that one of them is super easy and you can use it to get the secret platinum and diamond medals. That's right, there are 2 secret medals beyond gold. If we really wanted to, we could have pushed ourselves on every single track in the game to get these 2 medals, but luckily it's not required for the platinum. We do need to get each of these medals once, but luckily the skill game Power Bike makes that super easy. The way this skill game works is that you don't actually pedal your bike. Instead, you have a rocket on the back of your bike that has a limited amount of fuel. Every time you boost, your meter goes down a little bit. So your goal is to conserve your fuel as much as possible and get as far down the course as you can. This skill game is actually laughably easy, especially when compared to some of these other ones. On my first attempt ever, I managed to get the platinum medal, and then I came back to it with the king crab and managed to get the diamond medal. So with the skill games mercifully out of the way, it's back to the extreme tracks. But before we get to the final track in the game, it's time for one more side quest. Forget about gold trophies for now, we have to finish one of the extreme tracks without falling. And actually, we kind of have to do it twice because there's another trophy for falling on the final checkpoint. So I jumped into Sewer Rat, the first extreme track that I had passed, and began grinding. So many of the lessons from Trials University came in handy here. In this section, our lessons on uphill landing and throttle control help us stick to the surface and go smoothly up this ramp. Then we need to prove our mastery in consecutive bunny hops and go across these 3 platforms. I failed and failed and failed, but could feel myself get better as the hours went by. This is probably the hardest section in the entire track. There's a big jump into the triple bunny hops. I make sure to take my time here. This tiny little wall is way trickier than it looks like. The trick is that you want to pull your front wheel up so it doesn't touch the wall at all, but not so far that you flip over backwards. Eventually, I was able to enter a flow state and go into deep concentration. We only have 2 checkpoints left, and these are best to do in one smooth motion. So that is a huge trophy to check off the list. Definitely one of the hardest ones in the entire Platinum. Now we just need to repeat that exact same thing to get the second trophy. Unfortunately, that is easier said than done. All of a sudden, sections that used to be pretty easy, I started really struggling with. I can't tell you the number of times I died to this stupid jump into the big ramp. Every time I would make it further into the level, the nerves would hit me and I would just choke. This is where I started to regret my choice of using my acorns to buy the bike to cheese the skill games. You see, I could have used my 45 acorns to buy some DLC tracks. These tracks are considered extreme, but the thing is, they're very short and there are no checkpoints in them. This means that if I bought these DLC tracks, I could get this trophy for falling on the last checkpoint of an extreme track basically instantly. All I would need to do would be to put my credit card into the game, buy these acorns, and move on with my life. But that level of pay to win was just a little bit too much for me. Like I said, I had decided to use my get out of jail free card on the skill games, and now I felt like it was only fair to do these no fall runs naturally. So I did just that. After many more hours of practice, I hopped on stream, and this happened. Nice, alright, last checkpoint. If we nail this... Save it, okay. Get up. Shoot. Come on. I was freaking out here, just trying to get my rear wheel over this last obstacle. Yes, that's it. Wow, okay, so that's it, and now we just need to fall on this checkpoint, and that should be the trophy. Ooh, you almost made it. Wow, that seriously took me like 4.5 hours. So with the no death runs out of the way, we have finally made it back to the last and hardest track in the game, Inferno V. Every single checkpoint in this track has something tricky. We've got consecutive bunny hops over these round objects, we have to do this huge jump and land a rear wheel bounce, and we have to get up and over this overhang with the help of some furious flapping. Yes, I said flapping with an L. This checkpoint was probably the hardest one in the entire game for me. It looks pretty easy, but it's so hard to get the traction you need off these curved wheels. This was my first time through the level, and you can see that my death count was just going up and up and up into the 400s. But after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, I was beginning to get some consistency. This run starts pretty strong with only one fall on these initial bunny hops, followed by flawless execution of this next checkpoint. We get up this log and over the wall without falling a single time. Up next is the big jump. We throw ourselves at the jump several times, and some are really close, but we take a few falls here. Get up, get up. But we finally make it over, and with only 7 falls, we're in decent shape. Nice. The next few checkpoints go well, and we finally make it to our nemesis, the tires. Okay, tires, please be kind to me. The time we need to beat to get the gold is roughly 7.5 minutes. I knew I was going to take some falls here, but when I managed to get through this checkpoint with about 3.5 minutes to spare, the platinum was in my sights. It was time to lock in. Things get a bit dicey here with some flapping failures. We're up to 31 falls total, and there's only 2 minutes left, but there's no turning back. Not amazing. Still two minutes ahead, though. Nice. Alright, don't throw. We get to the final checkpoint with about 1.5 minutes to spare, but this one is devious. This vertical climb is all about patience and not giving the bike too much gas. I screwed it up. Oh no. My panic starts to rise as I take a few falls, but eventually this happens. Okay. This is so hard when you're nervous. Is that it? All sponsored out, that's it. Wow. Okay. We get this trophy all sponsored out for getting the last sponsor, the Ninja sponsor, but it turns out we were missing 1 gold medal on the final track in the game, the grand finale. I think this track is meant to be kind of the final track in the game if you're not going for the extreme tracks, and so luckily compared to Inferno V, it was a breeze. We hop in and quickly make a lot of progress. The first time through, we're just learning the track and take a lot of falls, so we don't come anywhere close to the gold medal time. That being said, we still get a trophy for beating this grand finale for the first time. You are the champion. With 1 full run under our belt, we hop back in and do a lot better. The end of this track is a nice, fun victory lap for all of the hard work we've put into this game. Countless gold medal runs, all of the university tracks that we needed to master in order to get our skills to this point, 8 extreme tracks that pushed me to my very limit, all of that hard work leading to this 1 trophy. Golden Hero. Okay, good. Glad that was not bugged. Speaking of victory laps, we actually have one more thing to do. We've now unlocked the Ninja tracks, which are obstacle courses from hell. They range from white belt, the easiest, all the way to black belt being the hardest. Mercifully, we don't need to get all the way to black belt, we just need to beat one of these in order to get the final trophy in the game. Look at some of the maneuvers we have to pull off here. We're doing crazy 360s, stuff that we never did in the base game. Luckily, we don't have to worry about the gold medal here. All we have to do is reach the end of the track and the platinum is ours, which is why this final checkpoint is so devious. We need to pull off 4 back-to-back-to-back-to-back bunny hops. That was close too. Oh, so close. I think I was a coward there. I think if I just landed on my back wheel, I think we had it there. My first time through, I even hit the 30-minute time limit, causing me to have to redo the entire course. I was feet from the exit. Ooh, pretty close for our final attempt. But you know me, there's no giving up, especially when we're this close to the end, so I got back to the final checkpoint, and this happened. There we go, that's it. Trial Ninja, and that should be the platinum. Rising Legend, wow. Man, so the secret was just telling myself, land on that back wheel. Honestly, of all the games I've played, I think Trials Rising has the highest skill ceiling. It is incredible what people can do in this game. To demonstrate that, I popped my head into the yellow belt track, the next ninja track, and I immediately washed out on the first checkpoint. People in chat were like, oh yeah, this is a squishy, you need to bunny hop off a corner here, basically just a move that I had never tried before. So it just shows that even though this was a brutally hard platinum, there is still so much more to this game. Pretty cool. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out and helps me keep doing these hard platinums. And thank you as always to my gold tier members who help support the channel. If you want to see another hard platinum video, click here and we'll see you next time.